Rosa Koire, her book, Behind the Green Mask, UN Agenda 21, has been the subject of speaking engagements around the world. I reached Rosa at her home in San Francisco, where she has been working for the past 30 years. Now, I'm just going to check and make sure Rosa is on the line. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
There she is. And can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I'd like it if you were a little bit louder, but
okay.
Do my best here.
Okay. Yeah, well, the limitations of technology here sometimes make it difficult, but I'm going to try and speak up, and I'm going to just let you to do all the talking. I think that's the best plan.
That's safe, I guess.
Yeah. So tell our listeners a little bit about yourself prior to writing Behind the Green Mask.
Well, I am, by profession, I'm a real estate appraiser, a California certified general commercial real estate appraiser, and for the last 30 years I've been district branch chief for the Department of Transportation in California, and my specialty is eminent domain valuation, and I only work on roadways. So, I would never do redevelopment project work, but I I have done work for acquisition of freeway projects. And about 10 years ago, I recognized that something was going on. There was a planning revolution actually happening. And I say that because when I would go into a planning department to find out what someone could do with their property so that I could fairly compensate them for lands that were being taken for a freeway project, I was finding that there wasn't literally anything that they could do by right. And that, in fact, the planning departments seemed to be there just to deny people the ability to use their properties. And with environmental overlays and restrictions on what could be done with land ranging from residential to rural to industrial, agricultural, all types of land were limited in such a restrictive way that it began to be very difficult to determine what property was worth. And also at that same time, I decided to do some public service, and I was elected to a project area committee that was an oversight committee for a huge redevelopment project in my town, about 1,100-acre redevelopment project. And when I went to sit on that committee, I thought that I'd be kind of an insider helping the city, explain things to the residents. But what I found was that the project was fraudulent, and that when I brought actually there was a tremendous amount of errors, and they all went in the same way. They all went in favor of the city itself. And so when I brought that to the attention of the city, instead of changing the project, instead of making corrections, they did everything that they could to get me off of that committee. And that began a huge fight, which ended up we ended up suing. We created a group. We ended up raising about $500,000 and suing our city to stop this huge project. We did lose we lost. Superior Court took it up to appeal, lost again. But during that 3-year period, we were able to stall that project until redevelopment was killed in California. And through this fight and through my research during this fight, which was a tremendous amount of research, I found that redevelopment is at the heart of a huge global project called United Nations Agenda 21, Sustainable Development. And when I first heard about it, I happen to be a liberal Democrat, and when I first heard about it, I thought, no, this is some kind of a right-wing thing. I'm not going to go there. But the more research I did on it, the more I recognized that, hey, this is not a partisan thing. This isn't some kind of a conspiracy theory. This is a conspiracy fact. This is going on, and that started, that extended my research and took me on this journey that I've been on now for about 7 years of fighting United Nations Agenda 21, Sustainable Development. And I do travel all over the United States, primarily speaking to groups and helping people recognize it, because it doesn't come with flashing lights. It doesn't come called United Nations Agenda 21, and so people don't recognize it, but it is all over your cities, your towns. Doesn't matter what state you're in, doesn't matter what country you're in. This is a global plan. It is in Canada right now.
And the interesting thing about it is that you have a website that's called Democrats Against UN Agenda 21.com. So you are a Democrat yourself, and so this really doesn't have anything to do with partisan politics. And so for those people that are thinking along partisan lines, they probably need to have their thinking adjusted slightly when they're thinking about Agenda 21. Would you say?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, people will say, well, so if it's not partisan, how come you named your group Democrats Against UN Agenda 21? And the reason is because, because primarily the people who are onto this, who are recognizing what's going on, are primarily on the other end of the political spectrum for me and from my group. And this is something that is, we're hoping that this is going to change. More and more and more Democrats and people who are left-leaning or liberal identified are coming onto it, becoming aware of it. But it is a hijacking of the environmental movement. And so it's a very painful thing to recognize that something that you've been working on for many years, that you may believe in with all your heart, is actually the biggest public relations scam in the history of the world.
So you've been involved in the environment in the past?
Well, yes, obviously. I mean, just as being a human being on the face of the planet who wants to make sure that that continues. And my partner is a general contractor, and she built a two-story house out of recycled materials. We do everything we can to recycle and reuse and conserve. But this is not, this is what this plan is. This is why I called my book Behind the Green Mask, because this is the green mask of the plan, that it's about the environment and about saving the planet. But really it isn't. It's a global totalitarian state that it is being erected right now all around the world. It's not it's not just limited to the United States, of course. It's everywhere. And people just have not been aware of it. It's a 20-year-old plan, and people think that, oh, no, it's not happening here, but it is, and I will help you see how it is.
Well, that's great. We're looking forward to doing that and just parsing some of this stuff, because it's a huge plan. I mean, it's all-encompassing, and the whole idea of sustainability is at the core. Would you suggest that would be the case? Or
yeah, what this is, okay, so here's the deal. Here's what it is. We could go back to the 70s, but let's just take it from 1983, which is the United Nations World Commission on Environment and Development. They put out a book, and it's called Our Common Future. And this is a world commissioned by the United Nations. It's a UN commission, and that was where they first coined the term sustainable development. It's a United Nations term, and what it means is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. Well, that sounds really great, and why would you ever be against that, right? Well, they immediately then said, yes, everything we're doing now is indeed compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. And what are we going to do about that? And so the United Nations General Assembly said to the UN Commission on World Commission on Environment and Development, can you please come back in 5 years with the action plan to implement sustainable development worldwide? And they said, yeah, and they did. They came back in 1992 with Agenda 21, the agenda for the 21st century. And that was signed on to by 179 heads of state, including, in my country, George H.W. Bush, and in your country, Brian Mulroney. And so 179 world leaders signed it. And then from there, it was brought back into our individual countries through, now this is not a treaty, it's an agreement. So it's soft law. It did not require our legislatures to approve it. So what happened was it was brought in through our federal governments. Now, if you look at, now I know you're Canadian, if you look at Environment Canada, which is the Canadian government's own website, Environment Canada, and you're going to see sustainable development there. And it's, it defines sustainable development as, the United Nations defines it. And then they're talking about having released a progress report in 2011 on the Federal Sustainable Development Strategy. And this is all around Canada. This is throughout Canada. So if you're thinking that this plan does not impact you in Canada or that this is some American thing, it's not. This, in fact, is a worldwide plan. And what it does is it moves you from the rural and suburban areas, which, let's face it, that's a lot of Canada, and brings you into the urban city centers. It takes you off of your land. It restricts your use of your natural resources, and I'm talking about oil, gas, timber, water, and land, minerals. So we're talking about a literal restriction on if you're out in the rural areas of Canada and you're trying to farm or you're trying to extract minerals from your land. And I'm not talking, I am not some representative of big oil or something like that. I am just a person who is looking at this plan and recognizing the incredibly negative impacts that it's having on our economies. And that is the goal of Agenda 21, because if you look at the way that it was developed, what is considered to be unsustainable? Single-family residences, private vehicles, appliances, meat eating, air conditioning, tillage. I'm talking about farming. Farming is considered to be something that releases carbon into the atmosphere. And so we're talking about a restriction on your ability to farm. And if we can't farm in our agricultural areas, then we are dependent on huge agribusiness to develop food for us. And then this plan creates dependency. It takes away your independence, and it creates dependency. And, I've known a lot of Canadians in my time, and you are some of the most hardy, independent people I have ever known. And you should be really getting on board on the fight against this plan, because it is happening now, and it is all over the world.
And what's the end game?
Well, the end game is, if you want to take a look at what the beginning of the end game looks like, take a look at the European Union. And that is an erasure of jurisdictional boundaries and a government by unelected boards and commissions that literally takes away your ability to have any influence at all on what happens in your government. Now, you probably feel right now like you don't have much influence on your government as it is, on your local or, county or state or federal or province or whatever government. But think about this. You at least know that you have the right to, request federal documents, state government documents. You have the right to be present at a government meeting, to be informed that a meeting is happening. But we are talking about unelected boards and commissions that are regional, that are actually erasing your local, county, province, and federal boundaries. And ultimately, this means one world government. And, this sounds crazy. I'm not crazy. I am a reporter on what is going on. This plan takes away your ability to influence your government and creates a global, regional neighborhood model. And none of those tiers is elected.
So, and it's all under the auspices of Agenda 21 and sustainability and all these things that we've come to know as being green initiatives. And that also includes sustainable transportation. It goes into all these different areas. And so now we're seeing some of the infrastructures changed to accommodate to the agenda. Mm-hmm. And it is an agenda.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely an agenda. And, I'm not saying, I've been in Vancouver. It's a beautiful city, lovely, and I've traveled some in Canada. I've been in Quebec province and, in several different cities in Canada. And, what I see is that, of course, you're concerned with, being able to provide mass transit for people and, being conservative with, with your water, et cetera. But what we're talking about just goes far beyond that, because the mass transit plan And the way this plan works is it says it's premised on this thought that those of us who are out in the rural and suburban areas of our countries are putting too many demands on the earth because we are using our private vehicles. And so because it costs way too much money to get public transportation out to those of us in the rural and suburban areas, we need to move to the cities where we can be, we can be moved through mass transit. This is the premise. This is the green mask. This is what you're told, is that, it's better, it's more efficient, and it is more, if you're concerned about the planet, you're going to be protecting the planet because you're in a big city and you're able to conserve energy and water and land by doing that. But really what this is about moving you into the center of cities where you can be more easily managed and surveilled. This is a huge surveillance project. I'm going to define Agenda 21 for you right now. And just think about this. It's the action plan to inventory and control all land, all water, all minerals, all plants, all animals, all construction, all means of production, all energy, all information, and all human beings in the world. Inventory and control. This is what this plan is. And we have been in the inventory phase for most of the last 20 years, and that is why people have not really been aware of it. This is a stealth plan. And now you are starting to see control more and more, and that's why people are beginning to recognize it.
And so then when we start to see all these things that have already been in place for the past 20 years and we've become acclimatized to them, now where the second phase begins, where we start to be the subjects of the surveillance as well.
Yeah, definitely. And, this is something, now the way that this is done, the vehicle that's being used, of course, the Canadian government and the United States federal government are complicit in this. These are basically top-down programs that are forwarded with federal mandates and federal funds come into the states, and then from there go into your local areas. But one of the things, and actually, the Federal Sustainable Development Strategy is mandated by and this is Canada I'm talking about. It's mandated by the Federal Sustainable Development Act. And that was passed, it received royal assent in June of 2008. And, basically this was in response to Canada's participation in the Earth Summit at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. That is where Agenda 21 was signed on to in 1992. Yeah,
which we all refer to as Rio now. we just say Rio.
Yeah, in fact, let me just I want to come back to this in a second, what I was just talking about, but let me just say that, we just had the Rio Plus 20 summit, the Earth Summit, the anniversary summit of the 1992 Rio Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And, you'll hear and you have heard that it was a failure, and that, it's just, we didn't get what we wanted at Rio, and darn it, maybe at some point in the future the world is going to be ready for this. Well, that's a lie. That's a, hey, go back to sleep, you guys, nothing happened comment that was made officially by the United Nations. In fact, it was a success, because what they did was they brought together non-governmental organizations, NGOs, nonprofits, with government and corporations, and they committed $500 million to doing partnerships. And this is what this plan is about, really. These are the vehicles for it. This is how it happens. It is a public-private partnership. This is a blurring of the lines between government and the corporations. This is a corporatocracy. This is a fascist state being erected all around us, all around the world. So this is where not only do you have your jurisdictional boundaries blurred, through regionalization, but you also have your boundaries between what is a corporation, what is your government, and what is a nonprofit organization. All of those lines become blurred as well, and you have no access and no control over these sort of quangos and quasi-governmental organizations that are then funded with your tax dollars. And this plan, with the way it works, it's regional. So, we know that, you're just like, many countries, including the United States, where you elect your local officials, your local government officials, and then you elect your county people, and then your province, and then your federal, right? Well, what this does is it creates another layer of government called regional. And that is what they're doing, is actually creating a situation where it won't matter who you vote for. It'll be irrelevant because your local government will be required, and is being required right now, to go along with these regional plans and boards. And part of the way this is being done, this might not, I hope this is interesting to people, because I'm telling you, you've got to get on board with this. Mm-hmm. There are people across the world who are fighting this now, everywhere, including in Canada, and your mainstream press will not inform you about it. You will not know about it, because the mainstream press is part of this. They are the propaganda arm, and one of the propaganda arms. So the people's media is what we need to rely on to get this information out. And I appreciate this opportunity. So I want to tell people about ICLEI, which is the International Council of Local Environmental Initiatives. And they've changed their name now to Local Governments for Sustainability, because they don't want you to know that they're not local. In fact, they are international. They're based in Bonn, Germany. And what this group is, it's an international group. It represents millions, literally hundreds of millions, supposedly, people worldwide. They have 8,000 cities and counties are members. There are 114 ICLEI members in Canada. Your largest population centers are members of this international group, all your largest cities. So the majority of population in Canada is a member of this group, and you never have heard of it, I bet. So, Calgary, Edmonton, Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, all members. So what this group is it actually is a parallel government. It is truly the erection of a government that is not accountable to us and is paid for with our tax dollars. What they say that they do is they create protocols to monitor your greenhouse gas emissions, and they do this worldwide. But in fact, what they're doing is they're influencing government. They are making policy across the world, and they are also controlling water. They have a new water campaign that they're rolling out in Southeast Asia and Australia right now that will actually create a situation where you will not be able to afford your water. And this will also move you into the cities and out of the rural and suburban areas. And this is a very vital part of this plan, to get you to be more dependent, to take your private property rights away. This is not, this is about getting you off of land that you own and moving you into apartments and condos in the center of your city that you do not own, and creating a situation where you do not own your land and you are not able to be independent. This is a very serious problem, and we are fighting it worldwide.
The other insidious part of that, too, is with the mass transit or with the public transit systems, we're seeing the same thing that's happening with international flights. It started off with international flights and then domestic flights, and now with trains where identification is being asked for, and where people are being monitored in very, I guess it's actually very covert ways. Mm-hmm. And overt ways as well, as we have to show our identification to get onto buses or to get onto trains, or so
that's right. Yeah, and it's not only showing your identification. It's like when you're in your private vehicle, who knows what you've got in there in your trunk. But When you're traveling on public transportation, you are subject to search at any time. Not only do you have to show your identification, which is serious, very serious, you also are subject to search as if you're a criminal. And it's much easier to monitor and search you when you're on public transportation than when you're in an individual vehicle. And this is another reason to move you out of your private vehicles and into the cities, into the city centers, also to put you on a bicycle where you can't, you have, I know there are hardy people. I have a friend, a Canadian friend. I used to live in Guatemala. He had biked all the way from Canada all the way to Guatemala. Great. But this is, I'm talking about the fact that you are not as mobile when you're on a bicycle. You cannot go as far. You can't carry as much. You're subject to weather restrictions. And we are talking about a way to put the green mask on this and restrict people with them going along with it. And I want to talk about the Delphi technique too, because this is how you're being played. This is a huge public relations scam.
So just before you go into that, for those people, and we are a very green country, Canada, for those people that are wondering how this works in terms of the global warming issues and all those things that have been purported to be true over the years, how does the Agenda 21 mandate fit into that and the green agenda?
Well, what I always say is that whether global warming is true or not, it would have been invented just to support this plan, because it's perfect for this plan to actually be able to say that you are endangering the planet, and that in order to save the planet, you have to basically give up your private property rights and your civil rights in order to be able to, save the planet. I don't think we're at a position. I personally am not a scientist, and I have read many, many, many books on this, and I have a personal opinion about it. But regardless of whatever my personal opinion is on this, what I can see is that this is being used as a lever to manipulate and restrict our freedom. And I am not talking about, I'm not some pig who would throw, a bottle out the car window or, burn up anything I feel like. I am not talking about that. What I'm talking about is a situation where we are being told that our industry, that our ability to farm, that our ability to live independently is a risk and a threat to the planet itself. And this plan is so pervasive that it actually goes all the way through our educational system. I don't care what country you're in. Every single course has sustainable development principles from pre-kindergarten to postgraduate school. This is a huge propaganda campaign. And what I'm saying is that if there were a real reason for this, that this should be vetted and discussed by every person in a free country. And instead, it has been done completely under the radar and in every possible way to make it, so that this stealth program is not being revealed to any of our citizens. And this is wrong.
And it is wrong. I'm going to remind our listeners that we are listening to Rosa Koire, and she's speaking to us from San Francisco. She is the author of Behind the Green Mask, which you can also see on YouTube as a video, which I guess it was recorded at one of the events where you were speaking. And someone had a camera, and so they were able to get basically the basic facts about what we're talking about here in video form, and that's a really good resource. The book, of course, is a great resource, and I believe you can get it on Amazon.ca. I just want to make sure that listeners are aware that they can get the book and that they can find out more. But this is CHLY 101.7 FM. You're listening to Character Driven, and we are talking to Rosa Koire. And we're going to continue talking to her. I did have some music lined up, but I really want to get this information out. And so the music plays a secondary part in the show. And so she's so riveting and interesting that I think we'll just carry on and let her talk to us a little bit more about Agenda 21. And we were talking about some of the sustainability issues and some of the things that are being done in the name of sustainability, global warming, the green movement, in order to take our rights away.
Yeah, and, I want to say, since you brought it up, there are a ton of YouTube videos of my speeches. I not all of my speeches, of course, but I think there are about 100 videos or maybe 200 videos of me up on YouTube, and you can also find some of them on our website, and I do hope you go to our website. It's Democrats Against UN Agenda 21.com, and our other site is postsustainabilityinstitute.org. And that is where we have some informational papers there, and along with that we have flyers. Flyers are on both of our websites, and it's really important. You're hearing this information. I hope you're not hearing this for the first time, but if you are, you might be feeling pretty shocked, pretty upset. That's good, because in fact this information is something that needs to get out to as many people as possible. And as I say, awareness is the first step in the resistance. And you are in the resistance if you're listening to this. So what you need to do as a member of the resistance is to take that first step, which is to assist as many people as possible in finding out about this plan. And we have flyers on our websites that you can print out. You can probably print, it costs in the U.S., you can print 100 two-sided flyers for about $6. And if you're living in a city, you can get those flyers out. You put them on doorsteps. You don't want to stand there and hand them to people because they don't want to take them, and you're going to end up arguing with people over what's on the flyer. So you want to get the information out to as many people as possible by putting it on their doorsteps, on their on their car windows. You want to leave it in coffee shops. This information needs to be given to people. If your government really cared about you, your government would have informed you of this information. Now, I don't know what you guys think about your Canadian government, but I'm not too fond of ours, and I think most people in the United States do not trust the United States government. So why would you trust your government when they're telling you about how great they are with sustainable development? This is something you need to ask yourself. It's why is it that there has been such a huge effort to indoctrinate you in this plan without telling you where it comes from or what it's all about? This is the biggest public relations scam in the history of the world. And your plan, the plan for you, is to restrict your mobility, restrict your choices, destroy your economy, and make it so that you are not able to fight back. And you'll probably see this plan. It comes under, there's a zillion names for this plan all over the world. It has lots of different names. You'll see it as Vision 2035, Your Town 2050. You'll see it as redevelopment, as bike boulevards, as traffic calming, as public-private partnerships, transit-oriented development, code enforcement, restriction on smoking in your apartment. That means you can be criminalized, and this is a way to use the criminal justice so-called system to restrict your ability to be free as well. Wetland misidentification, water well monitoring, removal of private property from federal or crown lands and province lands. People who are on the left, who are more left identified, will recognize this as globalization, as GMO, corporatocracy. Smart meters are part of this plan. The 1% running everything, this is part of this plan. Domestic surveillance and fusion centers, and I bet you've got fusion centers in Canada, and that is where your local law enforcement, and all your levels of government law enforcement, as well as Interpol, get together and share this information that they are gathering on you. And endless war. This is all part of United Nations Agenda 21, Sustainable Development.
Prison systems. it doesn't really matter who's in government, but we're seeing that the prison systems are actually being enlarged as well in preparation for some of the things to come. Yeah,
prison. Okay, so this is a big part of it. Okay, because here's the thing. Your prison system, like the United States prison system, I'm guessing, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm going to guess this, is probably more and more dependent on public-private partnerships.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and in the public-private partnership, what that means basically is that using the power of government, a private group, a private for-profit developer, can then get subsidies and grants to create something, which in this case is a prison, and they're basically indemnified. They have no loss. They will never. There's no risk, and all of the risk is taken by the taxpayer. So when you have a private prison system that is dependent on making a profit, what does a prison need? It needs prisoners. And how does a prison get prisoners? More things are made crime. And this is what you're seeing with Agenda 21, Sustainable Development. More things are crimes. So, and sentences are longer. So here in my area, it's a crime. It is a crime to smoke in your apartment. To smoke a cigarette in your apartment is a crime. Now, I'm not personally a smoker, and I don't care for smoke, but this is a crime now. So there are whole counties here in California where it is a crime to smoke anywhere, outside, inside, anywhere. It is a crime. So what we're talking about is the criminalization of an act. Now whether you like it or not, this is a creation of crime. And this, what we're going to see more of is obesity as a crime. Because this plan also is, you're going to see it'll be called, let me give you an example of a name for another Agenda 21 plan. It'll be called HEALS, Healthy Eating, Active Living. You might see it as blue zones. What this does is it says that it is a crime to have a child who is obese, that you are endangering your child. Childhood obesity is considered an epidemic. And it won't be long before you will be identified as doing child endangerment if your child is obese, and then you can lose your child to Child Protective Services. And what we're looking at here is the expansion of criminality and the expansion of government control. And it doesn't just, it doesn't stop in any particular part of your life. In fact, it covers every part of your life: education, economics, food, housing, transportation. Every aspect of your life is covered by United Nations Agenda 21, Sustainable Development.
You were going to tell us about the Delphi technique, and I got you off onto a whole different area, which is great. And I think that you've been very succinct in your way of being able to describe this to make it understandable for us, if not maybe not palatable.
Mm-hmm.
That's for individuals to figure out if it's going to be palatable for them. For those that find that it's difficult or that they're suspicious about what's being said here, I really encourage you to go and do your own research and just start looking at this. And because it is such an ingrained concept, it's in the school system, it's everywhere you look. You see sustainability, and you see how the concept has taken hold in people's minds. So I know it's a difficult transition to make, to think that this would be part of a bigger plan that might not be in our best interest. So
yeah, might not. It isn't. I mean,
let's
just call it out.
That's the Canadian way of saying.
Hey, time is short. We don't have time to not say what this plan is. This plan is a plan. It's a totalitarian takeover. That's what it is. And if you're feeling it. You're feeling it. Don't tell me you're not. You feel this plan. It is happening all around you. And ICLEI, the International Council on Local Environmental Initiatives, they are funded by national and subnational governments, international organizations, foundations and associations, and municipal governments, including the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, Natural Resources Canada, Canadian municipalities, and there's a whole list of them, associations of local governments like the Greater Toronto Area Clean Air Council, Alberta Urban Municipalities Association, and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. And that's just straight out of Environment Canada. So I'm telling you that this plan is having a huge impact on you right now. And one of the ways that of course, your government knew that you were not going to be real happy if you caught on to this and realized that you had not been told that the most important thing that ever happened in your entire life and in the life of your children and your grandchildren was going on under your nose without you knowing about it. So they decided that they would set up these meetings that are, for you to vet your regional plans. And they would invite you to come on down and give your opinion of Vision Toronto or Vancouver 2035 or whatever it is they're calling it. And they're going to come on down. Let us know what you think about this plan. It's your plan. It's One Canada or whatever they're going to call it. So what they are using is a mind control technique. Yes, your government is using a mind control technique to run these meetings, and it's called the Delphi technique. And it was developed by the RAND Corporation, which was a think tank, and there's more to talk about with them. But anyway, they're a think tank. They developed the Delphi technique in the 1950s, post-World War II, Cold War era. And what this plan is about, what the Delphi technique uses, is this technique that actually it invites people to this meeting, and it gives you the impression, the illusion, that you have some actual role in crafting the plan. It gives you that illusion, but it is actually a mind control technique that is designed to block opposition. It gives you the idea that you have some part in crafting the outcome, but it is a predetermined outcome. There's nothing you're going to say about that plan that's going to change it. And so it's a propaganda method. It uses peer pressure, communitarianism, to shame and silence you if you don't want to go along to get along. And this is it's a vital part of this plan. This plan is designed, this entire Agenda 21 plan is designed to have you go along peacefully. It's designed to have you basically keep everyone else in control. It's basically a way to use peer pressure and propaganda to restrict and neutralize the opposition. It neutralizes the opposition and it converts enemies. This is a tremendous, tremendous effort that's being made all around the world right now, and it's happening in Canada. So when you go to those regional meetings, and you may not even hear that those regional meetings are happening, right? You're busy, you've got your life, you've got things you're doing, and here it is, it's Tuesday at 5 p.m., and you might not have seen that little blurb in your newspaper, that 2-line thing that said, come on down to Calgary 2035 or, whatever it is, and give us your opinion. And, in fact, that meeting is packed with elected officials, with consultants, and with people who are on boards and commissions because they are there to give their approval of this plan. And the plan is a regionalization plan. It's a plan designed to give your approval of smart growth. And that's that high-density urban development that's right there in the center of your town. And what it looks like is ground floor retail with 2 or more stories of residential apartments and condos on top of it. It's paid for with your tax dollars, with your transportation or property tax dollars. And it is designed to be at transit-oriented development centers. It's designed to be on either bus lines or rail lines. And it is designed without parking or with very limited parking. And this is the hardscape for your future poverty. A lot of it is vacant now. A lot of it is, it's very hard to finance, so a lot of it has gone bankrupt. And this is waiting for you. And this is pretty much all that's going to get built, is this high-density urban development right in the center of your town, and they're saying that they have to get ready for the huge population influx that there's going to be over the next 10 or 15 or 20 years. But really, what that really is people who are going to be brought in from the suburbs and from the rural areas into the city centers where they can be more easily surveilled and monitored.
And again, for people that might not have heard it at the top of the hour, this is not something that is going to change depending on which government is in. So all those people that are out there, talking about a change of government or a change of party are really barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah, and I wish that were not the case. The thing is, there's no knight on a white horse that's going to ride up and take care of this for you. You want to see what an activist looks like? Get up and go look in the mirror. This is what it looks like. It looks like people like us who are taking back our countries. Because if no one who is running for office now is going to get anywhere near that position unless they're on board with United Nations Agenda 21 Sustainable Development. And as I said, in the United States, it was signed on to initially by a Republican, George H.W. Bush, and then President Clinton, a Democrat, brought it into the United States to implement it in the United States through the President's Council on Sustainable Development, and from there it came in through every federal agency, and the same thing happened in Canada. So we're not talking about party affiliation here. This is a nonpartisan, worldwide, grassroots struggle that we're dealing with right now.
Just to put a fine point on it. So for those people that are out there and feel that they're going to be able to petition the government or to somehow put this off, it might be the time to do the research that they need to do or buy your book and get more information about what they actually can do. So what are some of the things that people can do, initiatives or even on an individual basis? Great.
Well, I do want to, I do want to emphasize that education is the very first step, and it's, it might sound boring, but I'm telling you, this stuff's fascinating. It's very easy if you want a quick study on it, my book really is very good. It's short, and it's clearly written, it's very concise, and there's 20 pages in the back of it on what you can do. And it's, I have sold a lot of books in Canada, in England, in Australia, in New Zealand, and of course, in other parts of the world, and of course in the United States. So, and it's not, I'm not saying I'm like, the be-all and end-all, but it is a nice book, and you can get a lot very quickly out of it. One thing, and you should go to our websites, and you should do the research, but, if you don't have time for it, you can get this stuff pretty quickly and get on board with it. One of the things that you can do, of course, then, as I said, is you can flyer. And, if you feel uncomfortable doing that, it feels a little bit outside of your normal comfort range, hire somebody. Spend $20 or, whatever it is, and get some kid to walk those flyers around in your area.
Oh, that's a good idea.
There's no excuse not to do it. And it's not that someone else is going to help you or take care of you. You are the resistance. So another thing you can do is you can anti-Delphi these meetings, these government meetings. And I'm not talking about your council meeting or your supervisor meeting or your province meeting. I'm talking about these are meetings that are put on regional plan meetings where you're invited as the public to go and give your idea, and you're seated at these little tables, and they give you a crayon and you color on some maps and say what you'd like to see there. I can, our book, the book shows you how to anti-Delphi those meetings. We're taking those meetings down all over the country, all over the United States, and I'm hoping that's going to expand to Canada. And there's very detailed, really cool instructions on how to take down one of those meetings, and you can do it. And then, of course, you want to go to, it's almost election season or whatever, go and stand there with a sign and say, where do you stand on United Nations Agenda 21 Sustainable Development? Or why is it that Calgary is a member? Why is, we want Vancouver, kick Ickley out of Vancouver, okay? You want to hold your signs up. You want to get in the face of your elected officials. You want to break this this sort of manipulation, this lie that what I'm talking about is a conspiracy theory. It is not. It is a fact. And yes, it's scary, but I'm sorry, I am a reporter on the truth. So you want to get the information so you feel solid, and then you want to go and hold your elected official feet to the fire. Now, we're not going to get through this with just, going to our elected officials. You can't just go home after that and think you did what you had to do. You've got to take this on yourself. This is a worldwide grassroots movement. And I have lists of things aside from, just the basic things of actually walking the information around, giving it to people wherever you are. As I said, I was I was in government myself, a district branch chief in a responsible position for the Department of Transportation. When I went to a meeting, when I went to a management meeting, I talked about this. You want to do that. You want to talk about it because people who know you respect you. And they understand that there are things you know about. You're professional. You want to talk about this. You are knowledgeable about it. You want to spread the information. You want to, first of all, one of the other things you want to do is you want to go out and actually assist people in taking down these meetings themselves. So as soon as you're knowledgeable, you want to assist others. You want to spread out to other communities. You want to spread the information to other communities. You want to, let's say you can make a video. You want to sponsor a university or high school student in making a video on Agenda 21 in your area. This is a global plan, but it's implemented locally. And that is where we're fighting it, is locally. You want to get on board locally because you will identify collaborators with this plan. As soon as you're able to identify the plan, when you read the book or look at our website, you'll start to be able to see the plan because it doesn't come called Agenda 21. You'll see it as Sustainable Development and many other names. When you start identifying it, that's when you can go and hold people accountable. People who are unelected, elected, people, you might be volunteering for a group, you might be paying charitable contributions. Find out if those groups are supporting Agenda 21, and if they are, refuse to pay and notify people that you have refused. There are many, many things you can do, and I really, really hope that if you're listening to this, you understand that this is something that is serious, that you have to be participating in now. Honestly, there's really nothing more important than this. We're at the edge of losing our ability to be free across the world. And this is way heavier than World War II. Because World War II, there were some countries that did not participate. This is a united global plan, and there is nowhere to go. So you must participate in the resistance now while you still can.
That is a real call to action. I mean, there's so many things that we can do. And also at a local level, I have a website called characterdriven.com. I'm going to put these resources, all the links and all of the information. Hopefully we'll actually put the flyers there as well to download. Not that they can't go to your site, but the more people that can get it out there, social media is a great way of getting things out to our friends. Mm-hmm. So we can make it go viral if we want to. So all of us can do whatever is at our hand to do. And certainly we have keyboards at our hand, if nothing else. And so there's all sorts of methods for us to take action. So anyone who's out there who didn't get the message already needs to go and get it clearly emblazoned in their brain that this is not something that we can be complacent about. It is a vitally important, crucially important aspect of our day-to-day life that is being taken away from us and that's being usurped. And so I thank you so much for being with me. The hour went so fast. I did not get a chance to play a lot of our music that we came up with. But one of the things that you did mention was The Who, Won't Be Fooled Again.
Right.
And I'm going to play us out with that. But I'm really hoping that we're going to be able to follow you and hopefully get the information that we need to be able to carry on this fight. So,
great. Well, bring me up to Canada. I'll come up there and speak up there. I'd be happy to.
Thanks, Rosa. Talk to you again.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Okay, bye-bye.